Good morning or afternoon, guys, whenever you're seeing this. Today's video is for April 2nd, the notes. So you should have some notes pages that look like this from the web page. Hopefully you've already watched this YouTube video, and as you're watching the video, make sure you're always taking a little bit of notes to help you out with the practice problems, because the practice problems are going to match up with the videos that are posted up here on top. So for today's notes, we are converting standard form equation to vertex form by completing the square. So here's the standard form equation, which I also have written over here. Remember, f of x also can just stand for a y. So that's why I just have a y here. Step 1, group the x terms together and keep the number term on the outside. So that simply means I'm going to go over here to my equation, and I'm going to take these two x's, and to put them together in groups, I'm going to put parentheses around them. Step 2, if a does not equal 1, factor a out of the equation. A is always your first term. My first term here, in front of this x squared, it's not written, so it's assumed to be a 1. Remember, whenever there's an x, if there's no number in front of it, it's assumed to be a 1. So since it is a 1, I don't have to factor anything out here. So I'm going to go down to step 3. Complete the square for the x terms in the parentheses. So this goes back to completing the square, which we did a few weeks ago. So I'm going to take this second term here, this 6x, and I'm going to, 16x, and I'm going to start by dividing it by 2. I always write my numbers right underneath that I'm working with, because both of these numbers are going to help me out. 16 divided by 2 gives you 8. After you divide by 2, you then square it. So I'm going to take 8 squared. Remember, whenever you square something, you just take it times itself. 8 times 8 is 64. So now that I have these numbers, I'm going to take them and I'm going to put them into my equation to complete the square. So step 3 says, remember, whatever you're adding inside the parentheses to complete the square, you must subtract that number from the outside of the parentheses to keep the equation balanced. So here is what that means. Changing the color a little bit here. I had y equals, so this part does not change, x squared plus 16x. What does change is I'm going to take the number that I got over here after squaring, and I am adding it to my equation. Oops, wrong color blue. So this number I'm just adding here. But over here, remember from our notes, it says you must subtract that number to the outside. So on the outside, I already had this plus 71. Okay, so remember, we can't just drop that off. I had a plus 71. I now have to do the opposite, so I added 64 here, so I'm going to subtract 64 here. My next step is to finish completing my square. So it says factor the trinomial by that is inside the parentheses by using the following steps. Write your parentheses squared. So I'm just going to take this exactly and I'm going to write it. Now I have y equals, I'm writing that exactly as it says here. Write in your variable. So it tells me to put an x right there. This next step, all this is saying right here, is to take this answer. So after you divide it by 2, whatever this number was, goes here in the parentheses. So after I divided by 2, I got an 8. So I'm putting that 8 there. That's why you should always write out your work as you're working, because you're going to go back to these numbers. They're going to be very helpful. Then the last thing I can do is I'm going to look on the outside, and I'm just going to do this work. 71 minus 64 should give me a positive 7. Step 5 says write your factor trinomial with your outside number from step 3. Well, if I look back up at step 3, that said to complete this square. I've already done that, which is what I did here. Okay, so this is my final answer. I'm just taking the number. Step 5 says just take this number and put it in your parentheses. Alright guys, I hope this video helps you out. Remember, whenever you scroll down, you have 2 that you have to complete first. And then just take a picture of it. You can print it out however you would like to do it and send that to Mrs. Rowe. After you complete it, make sure you go back into the Google Classroom, and inside the Google Classroom you need to hit the turn in button. So some of us are forgetting to do that step, which I'm going to show you really quick to make sure we know how to do that. So once you get into the Google Classroom, even if you're sending her a picture of your work, even if you're not turning it in via Google Classroom, so if you took a picture of it and you text it, let me find today's assignment. Oh, I'm now a teacher in here. Alright guys, so after you open up the assignment for math, you're going to look up in this top corner. Yours is going to say turn in. Make sure you're clicking turn in. So even if you send a picture of your work, you still have to click the turn in button. Alright guys, you have a great day, and we'll talk with you later. Remember, call me or text me if you need any help, and I will be tutoring today. Go ahead and join our Zoom class.